Hi, welcome to Overthinking Entrepreneur. I'm Megan, and I've had a successful online business for a few years now, and I think I overthought probably about 90% of my decisions along the way. Honestly, I just overthought whether I should say 90% or pretty much every decision in this intro. So if you find that relatable, you are definitely in the right place. In this podcast, I will help you get out of overthinking and into action so that your online business can finally start growing. Let's talk about challenging yourself the right amount. I'm excited for this topic. I actually think it's going to be a fun one and one that's really needed for you to hear. And it was inspired by the fact that I got a little bit ahead of myself and am now running 2 different challenges that are happening this week. And some of the people in my membership, they get access to both of them. The people in my membership get free access to pretty much everything that I do outside of the membership. Not everything, but the majority of it. And so I started a longer program a while ago, and then I just decided to do one of our free challenges in my free Facebook group this week, and it coincided with both challenges having the same start date of today. And they are about completely different things. They are intended for different purposes and different people, but some of the people in my membership were kind of discussing what do they want to do? Do they want to try and do both? Do they want to pick one? Do they want to pick the other? And I thought that this was a really good topic that I think a lot of people probably need to hear about, challenging yourself the right amount. And there's no magical formula for this. It really depends on so many different factors. Of course, it depends on your personality and whether you're someone who thrives under pressure and does really well when you're being challenged, and whether you're someone who, maybe gets more overwhelmed and tends to shut down when there's too much going on. You need to know that about yourself, because that aspect of your personality is going to make a big difference in terms of what your right amount of challenge looks like. But your personality factors in, your goals factor in. If you're someone where your business is fun, a hobby, you're hoping that it can bring in some extra money, but it's not something that you're intending to be like a major source of income for your family or anything that, you'll depend on to pay your bills, then the right amount of challenge for you looks very different than someone who does want this to be their only source of full-time income. Also, what stage of business you're at. It depends on what you're going for right now. Are you a beginner? Are you kind of in the middle? Are you pretty advanced? Are you scaling? Are you trying to still get that initial momentum? All of these things factor into what the right amount of challenge is going to look like for you. So I'm not going to give you the perfect, this is exactly what you should be doing, because that would be impossible. There's so many things that go into it. But I do want to help you do a little bit of self-reflection and self-evaluation so that you can figure out if you're kind of in that sweet spot or not. Because for most of us, there is that sweet spot somewhere in the middle where you're being challenged without feeling overwhelmed and really stressed. And that's ultimately what I think we're going for here, is that if you get too comfortable or too complacent, you're not going to see growth. And not only you're not going to see growth in yourself, you're probably not going to see growth in your business either. So that's the first thing I want to ask you is, am I feeling challenged? Am I feeling stretched right now? Am I taking on things that scare me in some way? And I've talked about this a lot. I think there's a difference between this is something I'm intrigued by and would like to do, but I just find it scary. And a lot of times that scary comes from the unknown, right? The unfamiliar. I've never tried this before. I don't know how it's going to go. What if this? What if that? All of the what ifs about the possibilities and the unknown start swirling in your head and make it feel scary. That is different than something that you just flat out don't want to do. There are things that I have no interest in doing for my business, and I'm just not going to. And at one point in time, here's a good example for you. I remember in the beginning when my business first started growing and I was like, wow, is this really going to work? Like, am I really going to actually make money in this business? And turns out, yes, I've been doing this for years now. But I remember in the beginning thinking that I wanted to build this really big business and that I wanted to build a team to help me run it, because that's just what you do, right? That's what it seemed like everyone was doing. And they were all talking about it like it was the dream. Build this business and then pull in the team to help you and all of those things that go along with scaling. And I was scared of it. And I thought it was fear in the beginning, like, wow, that sounds so scary. And like all the what ifs, and I've never done that before. And I'd have to figure out how to hire and how to pay people. And like, that seems really scary. And at first I thought it was a fear thing and that I needed to just work through it. But the more that I really sat with myself and thought about it and looked into it, I realized I just don't want to do that. I'm not opposed to having some help here and there, but like a full-time team of people whose livelihood I'm responsible for and that I have to manage and dictate and oversee and making sure things are getting done. I'm not interested in that. I like doing the work. There are so many things that people have said to me over the years, like, I can't believe you don't outsource, or you could pay, you could pay someone to do that. And I'm like, yes, of course I know that. Like, sometimes people talk to me like, it's so funny. I'm like, do you really think I don't know that I could do that at this stage of my business? But a lot of that stuff I like doing. I don't want to have someone else do it. I like being in the trenches, quote unquote trenches, with my people. I don't want to hand over a lot of things to a team. I feel very disconnected from my business when that happens. If I'm not interacting with people and the leads and knowing what's going on, I start to feel unsatisfied and disconnected from my business, and that's not good. And then I also just don't, it's not so much that I'm scared. I know that I could figure out hiring and paying people. Like, I know I could figure it out. I have faith in myself to figure out how to actually do that. But at the end of the day, I don't want to. And that's what I finally had to, it was very freeing when I finally had that realization of like, this isn't me being scared. This isn't fear getting in the way. This is just me not wanting that to be my life. I don't want to be a manager. I'm not in the corporate world for a reason. I don't want to have to do that kind of stuff. So anyway, I think it's important that you learn to recognize that within yourself of, when am I scared, but it's something that I want to do and know that I need to just push through that fear. And when is it something that I just flat out am not interested in doing? And I'm never going to be someone that tells you that you have to push yourself to do those things that you're just not interested in doing. But you do, like, there's certain things that have to be done no matter what. Like, if, for example, you say, well, I just don't really like networking and meeting new people, that's fine, but you're probably going to need a budget for ads, or you're going to need someone, like, there has to be a way that new people are coming into your business. It does not have to be you out there, like, meeting people in Facebook groups or whatever that looks like. But there are certain things that are non-negotiable in your business, but there's almost always a way to figure out that's going to make it work for you. But you have to ask yourself, am I feeling pretty comfortable in my business? Am I feeling stretched, challenged, a little bit scared on like a weekly basis? And if you're not, that's a sign that you're a little bit too comfortable right now and you're probably not pushing yourself the right amount. And I just want to back up a second here and say, if you are in a season of life where there's something going on with your health or with your family, whatever, right? Like that, I'm not talking to you here, okay? If you are someone who's, you're in your normal right now, or as close to your normal as you can have, and you want your business to grow, and you're not feeling challenged and stretched and scared on a regular basis, that says to me that you are getting too comfortable and you're too complacent. And I had this happen over the last probably year or so. I know I've talked a lot about on this podcast, and I don't want to keep harping on it too much, but it really was such a big transition to me to go from being completely in control of my own time, like full-time online business owner, no one telling me when I had to be where other than things that I scheduled for myself, to all of a sudden having a small child tell me exactly what I'm doing every minute of the day other than when he's asleep. It's been a very big transition for me, and figuring out how to still work my business with so much less time and freedom and flexibility to do that. And I let myself get focused on the things that felt easy. And I don't think that was a mistake necessarily. I was going through obviously a big life transition, right? Like I wasn't necessarily in my normal while this was happening. So I'm not saying this to beat myself up, but I will say that when I asked myself these own questions, I was like, nope, I'm not really stretching myself right now, and I'm not feeling challenged, and I'm not feeling scared in the way that I want to be and in the way that I was when my business was growing faster than it is these days. And that's a big part of it. And so I set out and I started applying to speak at summits. That's something that really scares me. I started putting myself out there in different ways. I tried Facebook ads for the first time. That scared me. I have really been pushing myself to try things that scare me more over this last year, and it's been paying off. So if you are having that feeling of, you know what, I can't really remember the last time that I kind of felt challenged, out of my comfort zone, a bit scared, then that might be a sign that you're not challenging yourself enough in your business. And again, if you're happy with how things are going, that's fine. But if you're wanting more, but you're not pushing yourself enough, that's probably a big part of the reason why. On the flip side of that, though, it's also very easy to pile way too much on your plate and then feel completely stressed out and completely overwhelmed. So you always have to just look at yourself and do that check-in. I would do that check-in on probably like a weekly basis, at least monthly, to kind of ask yourself, where am I at right now? And how am I doing? And am I really pushing myself the right amount right now? Because things change all throughout the year. You change, your schedule changes, what's going on in your life and your responsibilities, they tend to change throughout the year. It's not the same every single day. So you want to keep continuously checking in with yourself and just reassessing where you're at to make sure that you're on track and you're kind of nailing that sweet spot. And it'll look different for you, right? Like maybe in the summer, maybe you have older kids that are in school the rest of the year, but in the summer they're home. And so summer is maybe not a time for you to like take on a whole bunch of challenges because your home life and your available time to work looks different. But then in the school year, you are pushing yourself a little bit more. You just have to figure out what's going to work for you and what's going to be sustainable and not burn you out. Because ultimately, if you get burnt out, that's going to set you back much further than if you just take it easy for a month or two during a time that you know is chaotic in your life, and then you'll be ready to hit the ground running again when it's over. If you are super stressed out, and there are some people that thrive in a pressure situation, I think you just have to know your own limits, because I think even I tend to be someone that thrives under pressure. I tend to do a lot of my best work at the last minute. I was trying to say best and my head already jumped ahead to last minute and it came out best. So at the best minute, I do honestly tend to do a lot of my best work in that way. But I know my limits, and I know that if I was doing that like every day, this is not an everyday thing for me. This is like a once or twice a month I let myself use that, harness kind of the focus that can come when I know that I'm bumping up against a deadline and I have to get something done. But if I was operating that way every single day, I would be exhausted and stressed out and completely burnt out. So you have to just, and I think there's like all these, it's part of like internet meme culture these days to talk about being so burnt out and so stressed and so busy. And so many people start to think that like that's just your normal. That does not have to be your normal. You don't have to push yourself to absolute capacity every single day. Like I think a lot of us get stuck in that cycle. We put that pressure on ourselves, especially if we've grown up just being high achievers and have high expectations for ourselves and you have big goals. It's really easy to think I should do more and more and more. And especially if you compare yourself, my husband is working a very physical job right now. And sometimes it's easy to think, well, I don't really work that hard compared to him. And physically I don't, but mentally I work very hard. And I'm not just like lounging around kicking my feet up all day, eating bonbons, whatever bonbons actually are. I don't actually know what bonbons are. I just know people always use that in their reference. But I work really hard. And I have to recognize my own capacity within that as well. Because if you push yourself too hard, you're not going to make progress. If you are in that like fight or flight, so stressed out every single day, you're probably not making forward progress in your business. You're probably not making very good decisions. You're probably not thinking long term. You're probably not putting out your best quality of work. You're probably not building the best quality relationships because you're constantly frazzled and thinking about what's next and no one's getting your full time or attention. There's so many reasons why if you try and push yourself too hard, it's going to crack and it's all going to crumble away. And a lot of times when you're trying to push yourself too hard, none of it really gets done, because you run around like a crazy person and you're so overwhelmed, and then instead you watch TV or you do nothing, right? And so sometimes this backfires where we get too ambitious and we're trying to push ourselves too hard and we just can't do it and we just can't keep up with it all. So you just have to remember that there are so many opportunities out there, so many things that you can say yes to, but you are not meant to say yes to all of them. Even if you follow me, I launch a lot of things and I do that for myself. Yes, I am always trying to keep you guys in mind, but there is a variety of people within my audience. I do not intend for every person in my audience to do every single thing that I put out there. That would be way too much, but I have different people in my audience that need different things. And so I am constantly launching different things to try and touch on the different needs within my audience, not to overwhelm you and think that you need to be doing every single one of them, because you just don't. You have to decide what's right for you at this stage of business that you're in. And if you need help with that, I can help you if you're one of my clients, or, maybe within reason I can try and help you with this, but it might be time. That's when I always say, if you don't know how to move forward, if you don't know what you need to be doing next, that's the time to really look for a coach or a mentor or a friend or someone to talk to about what you should do. Because just because all of these things that are being offered in theory could be beneficial for your business, if you say yes to way too many things and then don't do any of them effectively and then you're burnt out, that didn't get you anywhere. Okay? So just always learn to assess for yourself. Just because someone else says something, and this is a skill that's going to help you a ton in online business in a lot of different ways, because there are people like me. I try not to do this, but I create things I'm excited about. And so I can be convincing telling you about why they're awesome because I'm excited about them. And I really do put in a lot of work and try and make them awesome. But just because they're awesome doesn't mean that they're the right thing for you to take on right now. And so you need to really become discerning and look at things and ask yourself, is this going to serve the goals that I have for my business right now? Do I have capacity to take this on? Is it time for me to learn a new skill or stretch myself in some way or, take this, add something else to my plate? Am I feeling a little too comfortable and complacent right now and it is time for me to step up? Or am I already feeling overwhelmed? You need to decide and you need to make this decision for yourself, and then you can't blame other people. Other people are also focused on what they're doing. I'm always trying to keep my audience and my clients and my members and all of you guys in mind. But I also need to make sure that my own needs are met. My bills are paid. I'm working on things that keep me feeling excited. And so a lot of times, yes, I wholeheartedly believe I would not launch something if I didn't believe in it. But that does not mean that every single one of you should be signing up for every single thing that I put out there. And then that's just me within what I offer. If you follow other coaches, other pages, other ways that you're learning, there's so much, right? And I've told this many, many times. I work with a lot of network marketers. I started in network marketing myself. And so I still have a lot of people in my audience who are currently in network marketing. Network marketing companies can be pretty notorious for putting out thing after thing after thing, which is good. But they're just doing what I'm doing, right? There's different people within the company that need pushed in different ways. And so if it feels like every time you turn around, your company is putting out a sale or a challenge or some sort of special thing or this new training or this or that, and you're already overwhelmed, you can say no, okay? It's not the company's fault for continuing to offer all of these things. If you say yes and put too much on your plate and then get overwhelmed, at the end of the day, that was your fault. And I'm not saying that in like a you should feel bad about it way. I'm saying that in a I need to hear this too kind of way, right? The company is just putting things out and trusting that the right people will be able to decide if it's a yes or a no for them. It's not anyone else's responsibility to kind of manage how many different things you sign up for. So you just really want to be mindful of, am I making myself incredibly stressed out and trying to put way too much on my plate to where I'm not going to move forward with any of it? Because that's not going to serve you either. And then the other thing you really just want to look at is make sure that you're leaving time to work on your business and not just in your business. So working in your business is the day-to-day, the stuff that needs done. Oh, I have to respond to that message. I have to ship something out to a client. I have to do that training, or I have to do that follow-up message, or I have to post, or, whatever. All of those things that you're kind of doing to keep your business moving forward. But then working on your business refers to the big picture stuff that's really going to get you where you want to go. So I just kind of did this. I just took a few days, and on my to-do list forever has been to redo my lead magnet, which is about a guide to getting more engagement, and then also a checklist that helps you remember everything that you learned from the guide. And I had like a good enough version that I put out there because it was taking too long, but I knew that I really wanted a better version. I wanted it to have a nicer sales page. It was just this quick little form before. I knew I wanted to have a better sign up page. I knew that I wanted to set up a Tripwire offer along with it. I knew that I wanted to set up an email welcome sequence along with it. And I was not making the time to do it because I was so focused on working in my business. I have to do this. I have to do that. I need a voice message. I have to, and so it's important that you also make sure that you're leaving the time to do those big picture things that are ultimately going to get you where it is that you want to go. And if you're putting way too much on your plate and you're way too challenged working in your business and not leaving that time to work on your business, that's going to backfire in the long term as well too. So anyway, I hope this has given you a lot to think about and to really just ask yourself, am I challenging myself the right amount? Am I trying to move forward in the right way? Because if you're feeling too comfortable, if you can't remember the last time that you did something that made you nervous, that's not a good sign. We need to get out of that comfort zone. But if you can't remember the last time that you weren't completely stressed out with way too much on your plate and dropping balls left and right, that's not good either. We need to find that sweet spot in the middle where you're finding the things that are going to serve your immediate goals, what you're really trying to work on right now, and stretching yourself within that, within reason, and just remembering that what that looks like is going to be different for each person. And then even for you, that's going to look different at different times of the year, different years of your business, different weeks, different days of the week, right? This is always going to be looking a little bit different. So what I really want you to do is just get good at checking in with yourself and knowing yourself. And I am a big nerd when it comes to like personality type stuff. And I know that some people don't like it because, well, first of all, they don't think it's real, or second of all, they think that it tries to put people in boxes or whatever. And I get it. I hear you. I haven't been as into it or talking about it as much lately as I did for a while there, but I can tell you that really understanding myself is one of hands down the best things I've ever done for my business, because there are so many people out there, well-meaning people, including myself, who are telling you what worked for them or what the way that they see it, their own perspective, what they think you should be doing, what's going to help you, what they think is going to move you forward. But we don't know your whole life. I do not know what your behind the scenes day-to-day looks like. I don't know what else you're signed up for right now. I don't know what you've tried, right? Like, you need to just get really good at checking in with yourself and assessing what it is that you need right now. And then just making sure that you are challenging yourself the right amount. So I hope that that helps you, and I hope this has given you a lot to think about, and I'll talk to you next week. I hope this episode inspires you to go take action on something you have been overthinking. As much as I wish you could, you cannot think your way to success, so promise me you're going to go take some action today. Head over to overthinkingentrepreneur.com to find all the cool stuff I've made for you over the years, like my free guide to getting more social media engagement and my Facebook group, Dynamite Entrepreneurs, which has a free course on social media basics.